Hello, everyone. Welcome back to St. Louis Teens. Today, we are here with Julia Montgomery, who is the founder of two phenomenal nonprofit organizations, AspireMe and Giving Images LLC. Giving Images provides photography services for the underserved, and AspireMe is dedicated to equitable education of America's youth with regard to vocational exploration. Julia, we thank you so much for your phenomenal service to our youth.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. And yes, happy to be here.
Thank you so much for being here with us, Julia. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what inspired you to start the Giving Images and Aspire Me?
Of course. So I am on a gap year currently from college. So I just graduated in the spring. And I've always been interested in entrepreneurship, specifically social entrepreneurship, which, is using business or nonprofits for the greater good and solving problems in your community. And so around 3 years ago, I noticed that this photography isn't something people usually think of for nonprofits. And I learned how to photograph people and just really enjoyed it. And I had some business with doing people's portraits, but I never got much value out of the money, but more of capturing people's memories. And so I thought it would be a good way to serve my community of offering my services for free. And that started as a personal project and then developed into a nonprofit.
And Julia, your vision is to help adolescents explore potential careers and are inspired to stay in school. How are you accomplishing this goal?
Yes, so for AspireMe, that is actually something I've been working on for about a year. I attended an incubator for high school students in California called GATSB, which stands for Gifted and Talented Silicon Valley Innovators. It's a mouthful, I know. And so in that, we spent 2 weeks in California developing ideas, solving problems. And so the issue that I noticed was disengagement among adolescents in schools. Students weren't inspired to study or to stay in school because they didn't see an output to their education. They didn't see value to what they were learning. And my thought was, what can I do to help them realize their potential, what they can do, and why they should remain in school? So I came up with the idea for AspireMe, which I'm actually still developing and launching as we speak. And essentially, I'm going to interview noble professionals in all different fields. So think about CEOs, doctors, actors, athletes, as well as those working trade jobs who have careers that don't require a college degree or education, because there's a huge shortage of workers for those industries. And often you don't need a traditional degree to really have a lot of success in your life. And that is something that, especially our generation, they don't always know that. And they think they have to spend and go into debt for school when that's not always true. So really giving people an outlet to ask questions and to, submit them to me as I interview, so I can really get to the crux of why people are successful, what they did, and how students like you and me can emulate their success, but in your own way.
I think it's so wonderful, all the things that Aspire Me is able to do and continue to be able to do. And I know it can be difficult, but if you had to sort of pick one part of Aspire Me that would be your favorite, what would that be?
I think the ability to connect with students all across America. There exists some organizations that are specialized to certain geographic groups, certain groups of people, but nothing that's just for anyone that wants to learn more and educate themselves about careers. So my favorite part is that I'm going to be publishing the videos on our own platform as well as YouTube. So any student or adult can log on and watch, as we produce things weekly and really get inspired. So the scalability aspect is my favorite because I think there is so much to be learned from even careers that you might not want to go into. They still have valuable life lessons and, advice that they wish they had when you were their age.
And can you share with us some of the success stories of the program and the people that you're able to work with?
Definitely. So for Giving Images, I really focused in on senior pictures because just my experience as a student, it was easiest to find other students who couldn't necessarily afford senior pictures because they're quite expensive. And, again, it isn't something that you typically think of as, a need, but people want, and their parents, they want to capture that moment of their lives. So I've really enjoyed working with students and capturing that moment so they can have it and show their kids someday. And then with AspireMe, it's been putting together a list of speakers and really doing the background so that when I launch, I can go full throttle and move very quickly so I can hopefully inspire as many students as possible.
And you talk about helping students, and being a personal high school student myself, I know how busy high school can get. I have to ask, how were you able to navigate high school and the service you provided through your nonprofit organization?
Definitely. Every year I played about 3 sports. So
Wow.
I had that along with, AP classes, the whole I was busy, but I didn't let myself get so busy that you lose the quality with the things you're doing. I think a misunderstanding around high school students that is definitely perpetuated by the college admissions process is that you have to do it all. You have to be, constantly involved in all these different things. But I think what is really good is to dive deep into what you're really passionate about, and that will convey. So for me, it was finding a problem that was really personal to me that I wanted to solve and coming up with a unique solution to help those in my community as well as across the country for AspireMe. And balancing sports, social, school, it's not easy. However, it's definitely possible if you look at how you spend your time, stay on top of your things, of course, always prioritize school. But really, if you enjoy what you're doing, it doesn't feel like it's an extracurricular activity. It's something you're truly passionate about.
And we're so thankful for all the things that you're able to provide, especially starting at a high school age. I did want to transition over now to the COVID-19 pandemic. And with the onset of the pandemic, how has life changed for your organization and the work that you're able to do?
Definitely. So, when all this was going on, I had the decision to do I take a gap year or do I, take kind of a gamble and see if I'll be able to be on campus. And before my school even announced their plans, I had decided to take a gap year, which I'd already considered as early as January to work on my nonprofit full time and to really get that developed and started so that once it was on the ground running, I'd be able to balance that with school much easier than the developmental work, which takes a lot more time. So with COVID, that was a decision I was really wrestling with and trying to figure out what the best scenario for me was, what I could accomplish the most in that amount of time. And so I made that decision to work on my nonprofit. And then actually during quarantine, I came up with a startup idea with my co-founder now and have since been devoting most of my time to this new business I'm starting, and then trying to couple that with a nonprofit has also been a difficult balance, yet definitely rewarding in the long run.
Julia, first off, congratulations on your acceptance into Harvard. You talked about it taking a gap year right now and working on your new startup. Can you elaborate a little bit on this decision and the factors that went into that and what you're hoping to be able to accomplish during this time?
Definitely. I think giving yourself space to create value in your community and to truly learn about yourself, what you're passionate about, what drives you, what makes you want to succeed in school. I know that going into this year, it's very strange not having class. All of my friends, everyone I know is at school, either online or in person, taking classes. And, I'm kind of doing the school of life, per se, of working on a business and managing my own time, doing a ton of research, but about what I'm actually interested. And I think the transition from having someone tell you what to research, someone giving you the topics to learn versus when you're exploring them for yourself and the passions that you have really gives you that thirst for knowledge and the wanting to create, the future that is maybe your goal. So I'm really happy with my decision. I know when I go to college, I'll be so much more prepared, mature, and ready. So for students that have the opportunity to defer their acceptance and still have a spot the next year and really have a meaningful project, travel, whatever you like to do, it's definitely an option that I think can be really rewarding in the long run.
And Julia, what would your message be now for teens who are aspiring to become innovators and leaders like yourself?
I would say that it starts from passion. If you do something for a resume, which I know is definitely some people think about because it's so stressful going to college, not only is that going to translate of why you do things, but you're not really going to be happy when you do it. So I would say for students is to really be introspective. Think about, what am I passionate about? What would make me wake up in the morning just because to go put the time into actually starting something? Because it is entirely different, dedication wise, timing wise, of working on your own projects for yourself versus working for a company. And both are completely, great options. But I think it's very rewarding when you look at, I had an idea, I came up with a solution, and actually implementing it and seeing, people be benefited by it it's a really great feeling. And it's amazing how you can essentially create something from nothing. And there's a misconception that you're too young or students can't start businesses or nonprofits or organizations. But really, the options are there. People want to help you. Reach out to potential mentors, especially as a student. People love helping and seeing you succeed, and you'll be surprised by who's willing to give you their time and help you. So definitely what's benefited me is having great mentors who I've met through programs, and just their advice, learning from their mistakes, their wisdom has really shaped who I want to become and living a meaningful life. Success ultimately to me is meaningless unless it's benefiting someone. So I don't just want to create a company for profit. That's why I've done both companies, businesses now and nonprofits. Is the goal remains the same, is to help people to improve their lives. And I think if that's most people's goal from a entrepreneur as well as a consumer standpoint of what companies you support, this world will be in a much better place in the future. And so being mindful about your decisions, your choices, and what that's leading you to, I think a lot of honesty with yourself. One thing that really stuck with me, and kind of a saying that I would always tell myself, is what I do right now directly affects my future. So really the what you put time into is what you often will end up, dedicating your time to, and that will be where you're kind of headed. And of course, there's, all the time people figure out different things they want to do later in life. Success is not linear by any means. But I think if you can figure out early what you're passionate about and then explore different ways to either have a career in that or to create value in that area, you'll just be happier. You'll feel that you're adding to the world, and really you can also help other people in their lives.
And that concept of being able to start early, and you're never too young to be able to make that amazing positive impact on the world and experience that for yourself. And I think it's so important to let people know that they can do it as well. And they can, if they follow their passions and what they truly believe in, can have that same positive impact.
Definitely. And I think one of the most things is don't be afraid to fail, essentially. That was kind of what I found myself of being scared to start because I wanted to succeed so bad that I was terrified of not. And so, especially when you have other things going on, it's easy to put it off and to say, oh, I'm too busy. But if you aren't afraid to fail, fail, learn quickly, and adapt, honestly, starting early is so helpful. Even if that company you don't stick with, it's not the next Facebook, you will learn so much more from that experience, be it a success or not. And that will lead you to later, and better things.
Julia, thank you so much for your amazing service to our youth in need and to our country. And thank you so much for your time today and answering all of our questions.
Thank you. Enjoyed meeting you and talking with you. And yes, of course, I love doing these sorts of things.